Hey, Gritty Kids. Welcome back to Gritty Kids Podcast. I am Miss Erin, and I am so happy you are here with me. Today, I'm going to share a book that is very special to me. The title is Auntie Uncle. The author's name is Ellie Royce, and the illustrator's name is Hayes Chambers. There is another name on the cover of the book under the words Introduction by. That name is Marty Gold Cummings. All of these people are incredibly talented and have written, illustrated, and inspired amazing books. I am so thrilled to tell you that today the author, Ellie Royce, is here with me. Welcome, Ellie. If you would like to share the pronouns you use for yourself, you can. I go by Miss Erin and use she, her pronouns.
Well, hi, Miss Erin, and hi, Gritty Kids. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Ellie, and I use the pronouns she, her.
Great. And I notice, just as you're talking, I know that you are not from Minneapolis, which is where I am. And I bet that Gritty Kids who are listening notice that you have an accent. Could you tell us where you live and where you are right now?
Okay, well, I live in Australia, and I am on the East Coast. We call it the Mid-North Coast here, but it's actually the East Coast of Australia. So a little bit between Sydney, which is one of the big cities, and Brisbane, which is up higher, one of the big cities. Somewhere in between there, that's where I am right now.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That sounds incredible. Very far away. And your accent is beautiful. I love hearing Australian accents. So thanks for sharing that part of you with us. So, Ellie, we are so excited to read with you today. Before we get started, I want to let our listeners know what to expect during this episode. As I read through the first time, we will stop and talk to you a little bit about the story. Then Ellie is going to answer a few questions I have for her. Finally, Ellie will read through the book one more time without any interruptions. We will finish by letting you and your grown-ups know how you can learn more about Auntie Uncle and the amazing people that created this book. Just a reminder, if you hear this sound, that means I'm going to stop reading the author's words and use my own words to talk about the story. If you hear this sound, it means I'm going to start reading the author's words again. If you hear this sound, that means I'm turning the page. If you are following along at home, you can turn the page with us. Auntie Uncle, Drag Queen Hero. Written by Ellie Royce. Illustrated by Hayes Chambers. With an introduction by Marty Gold Cummings. There is so much to look at just on the cover of this book. Gritty Kids, you know I love talking about yummy words and important words. There are two important words I want to talk about on the cover before we even open up the book. Those words are drag queen. Can you say that with me? Drag queen. Good. I bet most of you know what a queen is. Usually a woman who is super fancy and royal and powerful, right? Well, a drag queen is not a real queen that lives in a castle. A drag queen is a person who loves to dress up in really, really super fancy clothes and shoes, and they wear lots of really beautiful makeup, And a lot of the time, they wear big, fancy wigs. Many drag queens perform by singing and dancing at a performance called a drag show. I love going to watch drag shows. The performers are so talented, and it is really fun to watch. People who dress up and call themselves drag queens can be boys, girls, grown up women, grown up men, trans kids, and trans adults, and kids and adults who don't identify as boys or girls who are non binary. Dressing in drag is a fun, beautiful way for all kinds of people to express themselves. Even though some people still think that dressing up, especially in fancy dresses and with makeup, is just for girls, we know that everyone gets to dress and play however they want and however they identify. There really isn't such a thing as for girls or for boys. Okay, now that we know what drag queens are, let's get started. I want to find out who is Auntie Uncle and why they are a drag queen hero. I love my Uncle Leo. He is good at math and he checks my numbers. He works in the city checking other people's numbers. I love my Auntie Lotta. She sings and dances with me. On weekends, she sings and dances with her drag queen friends. I love the illustrations already. There are lots of pinks and browns and purples, and everyone looks really happy, especially the drag queens. I want to sing and dance with them. Sometimes Auntie Lotta is Uncle Leo, and sometimes Uncle Leo is Auntie Lotta. It's fun to have an auntie and an uncle who are the same person. Ooh, okay, I understand now. Uncle Leo is a grown up man who likes to dress up in drag. When people dress in drag, they will often give themselves a new name for when they are all fancy. When Uncle Leo is dressed up, he uses she, her pronouns and the name Lotta. That is so fun. I wonder what my name would be if I dressed in drag. It's fun to imagine what other names we could have. I think I would choose Whitman because it is the name of one of my favorite authors. You can think about what name you would choose if you were dressing up in drag. One weekend, we went to see Auntie Lotta and her friends sing and dance in a big parade. I know what kind of parade this is. It's a pride parade, my favorite days of the year. Pride happens in June, and it's a whole month where we celebrate how amazing and perfect it is to be exactly who we are. While we were watching them, something happened. Nobody saw it except Auntie Lotta. Uh-oh. That something that happened was a little dog got loose and is about to run in front of a big truck. I want to look back and see if that dog was on the last page. Yes, there it is, ugh, wriggling through the gate on the side of the parade. Then everybody saw it. Oh my goodness, the dog was running to try and grab a piece of candy that was on the road. Somehow, Lotta jumped off from where she was performing, scooped up the dog, and made it across the street without getting hurt. Wow, she was fast. The dog's owner is crying and smiling at the same time. They were so worried their pup was going to get hit by the truck. I think I might know why the author said drag queen hero in the title of this book. That was really brave. The mayor wanted to give Auntie Lotta an award. He put an article in the paper and invited us to a special party. Oh dear, said Uncle Leo. Who will accept the award, Leo or Lotta? I want all my friends to come to the ceremony. It's so exciting that the mayor wants to give Lotta an award, but I think from reading these words and seeing the worried look on Uncle Leo's face, that some of his friends might not know him as the drag queen Lotta. Leo's friends from work have never met Lotta, and they might be surprised to see her. But Lotta saved the puppy, and her friends are so excited for her. She just has to be there. On the left page here, we see Lotta thinking and worrying, I think. Behind her are a bunch of faces that look confused and maybe even mean, like they are laughing at her. I bet Lotta is imagining those faces on Leo's friends from work. I think she might be worried that they might not understand if they know that he is also sometimes a drag queen named Lotta. On the right side of the page, Lotta looks happy and confident. Behind her, I think she's imagining her drag queen friends who are all excited and happy for her. I thought it over. Why can't you both accept the award? I said. I've never been both of me at the same time before, said Uncle Leo. That would call for a super fierce look. I'll help, I said. I love this idea. So we tried different outfits that were a little bit Leo and a lot Lotta, a little bit Lotta and a lot Leo, and a little bit of both. At last, the mix was just right. What do I call you now? I asked. How about Auntie Uncle? Ladies first and all that, said Auntie Uncle. Okay, Auntie Uncle looks fabulous. They're wearing their natural hair, makeup, a pink suit with a bow tie, with a long, flowy skirt over it, and pretty high heeled shoes. City Hall was full of people. Look, there are Leo's friends from work, I whispered, and there are Lotta's friends. Oh dear, said Auntie Uncle. Oh dear. I put my hand into Auntie Uncle's and squeezed it tight. Auntie Uncle looks excited, but a little bit nervous. It can feel confusing when you are feeling more than one feeling at a time. I wonder how everyone is going to react. For saving the lives of many innocent bystanders at the risk of their own, we award this medal to Leo Lotta Bigheart, said the mayor. City Hall was very, very quiet and very, very still. Oh dear, sighed Auntie Uncle, very, very softly. Suddenly, Lotta's friends started to clap. Leo's friends started to cheer. They stood up, clapping and cheering together. Then everyone stood up, clapping and cheering. Yay! Even though Leo's friends were surprised at first, they were so proud that Leo was being his whole, true self. Sometimes with friends, it can feel easier when we try to fit in or only spend time with other people who are like us. I think Auntie Uncle was brave to show up in the way that felt right for them. After the presentation, Leo's friends met Lotta's friends. They were very, very polite. I thought that perhaps they wouldn't like each other until Auntie Uncle showed them the medal for bravery. After that, they clapped and cheered again. They drank tea and ate cake. They talked about math and singing and how much they liked my Auntie Uncle. I love Uncle Leo. He still checks my numbers. I love Auntie Lotta. She still sings and dances with me. But I think maybe I love my Auntie Uncle the best of all. I Love this ending. Even though Leo and Lotta's friends look very different, they all enjoyed being together and probably learned some new things by talking to people who were different from themselves. What a beautiful, beautiful, special book. Ellie, wow, you must be so proud to have written this book. I'm going to stop and ask you a few questions I have, and then we would love to hear you read the story again all the way through. Does that still sound okay?
That sounds fantastic.
All right, here comes my first question. Why did you write Auntie Uncle?
Well, that is a story that has many answers, but the main answer is that at the time I wrote this story, it was maybe now 9 or 10 years ago when I first wrote the story. And I noticed at the time that there were not many books on shelves that showed families who were different from each other. And I actually wrote a few stories at the same time as Auntie Uncle about families who were different from having a mum and a dad and however many children that they might have. Because in real life, as everybody knows, there are so many different kinds of families and so many different ways to love each other and be a family that there weren't books that were showing these different kinds of families. So that was one inspiration that I had for this story. The other main inspiration that I had is that I had a good friend at the time who was an auntie uncle, who was actually an auntie uncle to about, he is of Spanish origin, and he has many, many nieces and nephews who absolutely adored it when he would dress up and sing to them. He would sing using the hairbrush to his nieces and nephews and practice his drag show with them, and they would love it and they would dress up with him as well. And I thought that was a lovely, lovely story. And he told me about his experience learning to be comfortable in front of other people when he was dressed up in his drag. And that seemed to me a very special kind of bravery. And I wanted to write a story about being brave and show that there are different ways that we can be brave. And one way of being brave might be to save a little dog that's running out on the road. And another way to be brave might be to be who we truly are in front of other people. And that's a very important kind of bravery. And it's something that I wanted to write a story about.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, I feel like my heart just grew inside my chest hearing you say all of those things because even sometimes when we know that something is true inside us, it can just make it feel so much more real and true when we hear other people saying the same thing. So I just love everything you said about families and bravery. Wow, that was really beautiful. Are you writing any more books? So you said you maybe wrote a few other or two other books around the same time. You wrote Auntie Uncle. Are you currently working on any books, or do you want to tell us about any of the other books that you have written or are planning to write?
I'd love to tell you about my books. I've written 4 picture books. My first picture book was called Lucas and Jack, and that was about a young boy who was going to visit an elderly relative in a nursing home and thought that old people were a bit boring because all he could see was the outside of the person. And he realised through talking with one of the people who was sitting down and asked, played a game with him and said, "What can you see?" And the young boy would say, "I can see an old man sitting in a wheelchair." And the Jack of the story would tell him that person's story and say, I can see a detective. He likes cricket and he likes fish and chips. And then the boy looks at another person and says, "I see an even older lady." And he says, "Well, this lady loves ballet. She once danced for the Queen of England and she still has her shoes under her bed." just in case. So that story was about, I suppose all my stories are a little bit about looking behind what you see in a person and finding out their real story. And that's a way that we can all connect with each other. And while we appreciate each other's differences, we find out often that we are often more the same than we are different once we start getting to know a person's story. So that was my first one. That was Lucas and Jack. And then I wrote a couple of stories at the same time as Auntie Uncle, and one of them was called Frizzle and Me. And that was a story about a rainbow family as well that grows. Now, these stories have been published in Australia, so I don't think that they are in America, so people probably wouldn't know about them. But this one was the story of, told from the point of view of the character who is just called Me. The character isn't gendered, so we don't know whether the character is a boy or a girl, and I thought it would be interesting to let people decide when they read the story, and that has been very interesting. Mummy is their family when they are born, and then Mummy meets Janie, and Mummy falls in love with Janie, and so Janie comes to live as part of the family. And then David comes to visit. David is actually the main character's daddy and Mummy's best friend. And then David ends up staying with the family. So all the way through, the family keeps changing and growing. But the main point is that the family asks the main character, is it okay with you? Are you happy with this person? Do you love this person? And the main character asks questions like, will you still read to me? Will you still cuddle me? Will you still hug me? And the family says, of course. So the family takes the next step and grows. So that book is all about unconditional love, I guess, and how things can grow and change, but when there's love, it's always going to turn out okay in the end. So that was the other book that I wrote at the same time as Auntie Uncle, because as I say, I didn't see many books on shelves. Nowadays, there are so many wonderful stories about all kinds of families on the bookshelves. I have a new book that's just come out in Australia, which is called Me and You. I seem to have a lot of me's in the names of my book. And that book is all about a grandchild and a grandmother spending a day together, because that is my case. I'm now a grandmother and my grandchild, and I spend time together, and I think it's absolutely wonderful. So I wrote a story about that. So that's just come out in Australia.
Oh my goodness. So much love just beaming from all of your words directly into my heart, and I think into our gritty kids' listening ears. And congratulations on being a grandparent. That is such a special thing. And I really want to read your other books. I'm going to see if I can find them here or get them here somehow, because all of those sound so beautiful and wonderful. I feel like you again answered a lot of my smaller questions in a very beautiful and eloquent way. So my last question would be, just, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners, with our gritty kids, before we read the book one more time?
I think that I would like to tell your gritty kids that sometimes they might meet someone who seems very different from them, and that might make them feel a little bit uncomfortable or a bit worried. I think that it's a good idea to talk about these feelings with your grown-ups, and if it's possible, it's always a good idea to try and find out another person's story, because quite often when you do that, you'll find out that they are not as different as you think, and that the things that make them different might actually be quite fun, and you might even find out that you can be friends. That's just something to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just love that. Thank you, Ellie. Well, I could just keep talking and talking to you. I bet, gritty kids, you can hear me smiling so big when I'm listening to Ellie's words. You might be able to even hear it through the microphone. But we are going to read one more time and then we will wrap it up. But I'm so excited to hear your voice reading your book. So whenever you are ready, Ellie, you can go ahead and read for us.
This is Auntie Uncle. I love my Uncle Leo. He is good at math and he checks my numbers. He works in the city checking other people's numbers. I love my Auntie Lotta. She sings and dances with me. On weekends, she sings and dances with her drag queen friends. Sometimes Auntie Lotta is Uncle Leo, and sometimes Uncle Leo is Auntie Lotta. It's fun to have an auntie and an uncle who are the same person. One weekend, we went to see Auntie Lotta and her friends sing and dance in a big parade. While we were watching them, something happened. Nobody saw it except Auntie Lotta. Then everybody saw it. The mayor wanted to give Auntie Lotta an award. He put an article in the paper and invited us to a special party. "Oh dear," said Uncle Leo. "Who will accept the award, Leo or Lotta? I want all my friends to come to the ceremony." Leo's friends from work have never met Lotta, and they might be surprised to see her. But Lotta saved the puppy, and her friends are so excited for her. She just has to be there. I thought it over. Why can't you both accept the award?" I said. "I've never been both of me at the same time before," said Uncle Leo. "That would call for a super fierce look." "I'll help," I said. So we tried different outfits that were a little bit Leo and a lot Lotta, a little bit Lotta and a lot Leo, and a little bit of both. At last the mix was just right. "What do I call you now?" I asked. "How about Auntie Uncle? Ladies first and all that," said Auntie Uncle. City Hall was full of people. "Look, there are Leo's friends from work," I whispered. "And there are Lotta's friends." "Oh dear," said Auntie Uncle. "Oh dear." I put my hand into Auntie Uncle's and squeezed it tight. "For saving the lives of many innocent bystanders at the risk of their own, we award this medal to Leo Lotta Bigheart," said the mayor. City Hall was very, very quiet and very, very still. "Oh dear," sighed Auntie Uncle very, very softly. Suddenly, Lotta's friends started to clap. Leo's friends started to cheer. They stood up, clapping and cheering together. Then everyone stood up, clapping and cheering. After the presentation, Leo's friends met Lotta's friends. They were very, very polite. I thought that perhaps they wouldn't like each other, until Auntie Uncle showed them the medal for bravery. After that, they clapped and cheered again. They drank tea and ate cake. They talked about math and singing and how much they liked my Auntie Uncle. I love Uncle Leo. He still checks my numbers. I love Auntie Lotta. She still sings and dances with me. But I think maybe I love my Auntie Uncle the best of all.
Oh, I loved hearing you read that. Wow. You and Leo and Lotta are so inspiring. Thank you, Ellie, for spending time with us today. We absolutely love you and this book. Just so grateful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Well, maybe we'll be able to connect again for one of your other books sometime soon. But for now, Gritty Kids, if you would like to learn more about Auntie Uncle, Ellie Royce, Marty Gould Cummings, and Hayes Chambers, there are links at the bottom of this episode that a grown-up can help you open. Thank you for reading with me.